August 14th, 1834, I'm sitting in a cafe in Paris putting the final touches on this crazy book I've been writing about America. I'm a French aristocrat who just watched my country go through multiple revolutions with guillotines, and then I get to America and see people just casually practicing democracy like it's no big deal. Wild, right? My name is Alexis de Tocquevilles, and this is the AP US History My Story podcast. Bruh, let me take you back to 1831. I'm 25 years old, and the French government sends me and my buddy Gustave de Beaumont to America to study prisons. But that was just the excuse. What I really wanted was to understand this whole democracy thing that Americans were so hyped about. We spent 9 months traveling through the United States, and everything was different than Europe. We rode steamboats down the Mississippi, stayed in frontier settlements, attended town meetings, and saw some big differences. Back home, your family name determined your whole life. In America, people were reinventing themselves every day. Americans had basically no class structure. A farmer could become a businessman could become a politician, and nobody thought it was sus. They called it equality of conditions, and it shaped everything about how they thought and acted. The town meetings in New England were insane. Like regular people, not nobles, not wealthy merchants, would gather and debate about roads, schools, taxes, all of it. They'd vote in everything, and everyone's vote counted the same. Coming from France, where the king, when we had one, made all the decisions, this was low-key revolutionary. Another thing that hit different, American individualism. Everyone was obsessed with self-improvement, getting ahead, making their own way. People were moving west, starting businesses, joining voluntary associations. In France, if you needed something done, you'd wait for the government. In America, people would just do it themselves. It was giving hustle culture, 1830s edition. What I realized was that American democracy worked because of this wild mix of factors. First, Americans had this massive amount of land, an endless frontier where anyone could start fresh. Second, they were obsessed with education. Even small frontier towns would build a school first. Third, they had this crazy number of grassroots organizing and voluntary associations, churches, reform societies, social clubs that taught people how to work together and compromise. By the 1830s, regular people expected to have a say in government at every level. But it wasn't perfect, and I wrote about that too. There was this massive contradiction where Americans were talking about equality and democracy while literally enslaving people. How can you write a constitution that starts with we the people and then treat millions of people like property? I wrote that slavery would eventually tear the country apart, and spoiler alert, I was right. So my book, Democracy in America, came out in 1835, and it basically became the manual for understanding how democracy works for the world. It's something you have to practice, question, and fight for every single day. Understanding where it came from, with all its brilliance and all its failures, that's how you figure out where it should go. Like, follow, and share the AP US History My Story podcast, because these stories hit different when you hear the original voices that shaped our country.